Hi guys and gals, Froggy here. What I'm going to show you today is Froggy rotating the tires on this Lexus RX350, and I do that every time I change the oil. I changed the oil yesterday on this one. It's got about 25,000 miles on it. So I'm going to show you how to do a tire rotation. Now this is just front straight to the back, no crisscross, nothing fancy. It is a square setup. What does a square setup means? It's got the same size rims and tires on the front and the back of the car. There's some cars are not like that. Like my Corvette's not a square setup. It's got different size wheels and much bigger tires in the back. So just a little tidbit of information for you there about square tire setups and staggered. That's called staggered on the Corvette. So if you're on the side of the road and you're trying to change a flat, this does come with a spare tire. It's a special spare tire, a space saver spare tire. But if you were going to do that, there's some jacking points on the sides of the car that will fit a special jack that they include with the car when you buy it. Let me show you those just for fun. If you look right where I'm flashing my light, you see there's a little groove cutout thing there, and there's to the forward. There's one there also, right? It's there. See those two? They're both in the frame now, both in the picture. That's where the jack goes. It's a little ridge, but it's very strong. It's where different parts of the body of the car come together, and the jack goes in there. And there's one on each corner of the car, just forward and just back of where the wheel is. I'm not going to show you all the rest of them, but the jack that goes in there is really not a. It's an emergency jack. It's not a jack meant for daily use or anything. But I just wanted to show you those spots, just in case you ever had to use that jack and change the tire on the side of the road. Now this is where I'm going to jack it up. You see that rear coil spring there? And it's got a shock absorber in the middle of it. There's your little sway bar right there, just for the fun of it. I'll show you that. With a link, that shiny silver thing is a link that goes down to the suspension. Anyway, I put a little piece of wood there just to cushion things and also to spread the weight out. And I'm going to lift it there. Why would I lift it there instead of someplace else on the chassis? Well, if I lift it there, for example, this corner is going to droop. It's going to droop down. So that means I have to get it much higher up in the air to get the tire, which is now drooping, to get the tire off of the ground. But if I go right under that suspension piece there, I only have to lift it up a couple inches. So I'll show you the front also. So this is the front corner. There's your left front tire. And the same principle here. I want to get as close to that tire and get on that front suspension piece there to lift it up. So I only have to lift it up a couple of inches. There's some other places I could lift it here. This is a really strong piece of frame here, but then the tire is going to droop, same as the back, and then I'll have to lift it up higher. So that's a lower, like a lower control arm on the front suspension, and that's where I'm going to lift it up on the front. Now I'm going to do driver's side of the car, front to back, back to front, and then I'll switch everything over and just do the passenger side of the car the same way. I'm not going to film the whole thing. I'll just give you one side. Let me say a little bit about why you want to rotate your tires. And as I said, I do it when I do an oil change. It's probably about every 5,000 miles. This is a front wheel drive car, this particular model. So the front tires are driving the car down the road, pushing it, moving it down the road, and they're also steering, so they do a lot of work. And the rear tires just kind of go along for the ride. So your fronts are going to very likely wear out faster than your rears, So you want to move them back to the rear, move that up to the front so that they all wear out eventually at about the same time. So that's why, especially with front wheel drive cars, that rotation is important. Now I've got the rear off the ground. I've got to leave the front touching a little bit because I'm not going to use my air gun on these lug nuts because they're pretty lug nuts, you know, they're fancy lug nuts. If it was just a plain lug nut with a beauty cover on top of it, I'd just gun them off with my air gun. But this one I'm going to take a breaker bar and just be careful with them so I don't mess them up. So that has to be touching the ground, otherwise your tire's just going to go around and around and around when you use your wrench. These are 21 millimeters, so I've got a deep socket there, 21 millimeter, and that's about a 2-foot breaker bar. So it has no problem at all breaking them loose. And remember, I took most of the weight off of this with the jack. Let go there. You know, so there's not that much weight, so I can loosen these up safely. When they go back on, I'll put them on hand tight. I'm going to have to go up some more to get the wheel off. Let's go and do the back one. Let's see if I can show you. I'm going to have to put the parking brake on a little bit tighter. Yeah, my wife, I directed my wife to bring it into the garage, so she's not as strong as I am when it comes to putting on the brake. There. Now it's good. I'm not going to show you the rest of them, but now I'm going to bring the front up some more because I've broken loose all the nuts, and then I'll show you what it looks like underneath where your wheels are. Well, when you have your tire off and you're bringing it to the back, take a look at it and make sure there's no nails or screws in it or damage where you've hit a curb. And this one looks pretty good. It's probably halfway worn out, I'm going to say. Still plenty of good tread left on there. This is the inside tread. You see it's a little bit less coming off the front, a little more coming off the back. Outside tread, a lot on the back ones, kind of worn down on the front ones. This is still a good tire. And if you actually put a gauge in there, which I have, but I don't know where it is right now, you'd probably get maybe 6 30 seconds here, and maybe 5, maybe 4 there. So, like Froggy said, that's why you want to move them around, so that the fronts are always going to wear more, quicker, faster. So you got to put them on the back sometimes to give them a break. Okay? Here's a little shot of your rear suspension quarter. We've got 1, 2, 3 links there. 1, 2, 3. The shock makes 4, and then this coil spring connects to this corner to make 5. Is your brake rotor. The rotor, which looks nice, doesn't have any lip on it. When a brake rotor wears down, it gets a little lip there where the pad doesn't touch right at the edge there. Brake pads look good. You have to kind of look in at an angle on them, or you can go in the back and look at them. And it's a little hard to explain unless you're really here with me, but these are good pads. Inside of here is the parking brake. It's a drum brake inside the rotor and a disc brake. And the wheel bearings on the other side of this rotor. Can't really show you that. But I just thought you might be interested in this corner. Let's look at the front corner. The front corner has a strut where the coil spring is up there and the shock is right inside of that strut. Front disc brake looks good again. The pads are good on this. how many points connect this. Let's see. Well, they have double nuts on it, but it's really the top, the axle, the bottom also has double nuts. Let me lay down and show you that. There's your bottom connecting point there. So top, bottom axle, and then the steering arm right there. So 3 connecting points there. Everything looks really nicely made. Every time I do a little bit more work on these Lexus cars, I like them more. I'm going to put a little grease on this axle nut area here, just because if I ever have to replace the wheel bearing, I'm probably the guy who's going to have to try to get it off. And I'm also going to put a little grease around this lip here, which the wheel fits over, just so it comes off nice and easy. Might put a little dab of anti-seize on the threads. Now I know there's controversy about clean and dry versus lubed, and I've come down on the side of I like lubing them, and then you adjust the torque setting a little bit less, because if the threads are lubed, you don't want to do the same torque setting as if the threads were clean and dry. So I'm going to put them back on now, flipped them, and I will look up the torque setting for you and I'll tell you what that is. Let me get them back on. You have to get the wheel sitting up on that lip that I showed you before, before you can really get the lug nuts started. So it's a little bit of a trick. This is a pretty heavy wheel tire, rim tire combination. So I've got it up there. Now I'm going to go hand tight with my breaker bar, which is actually quite a bit of torque. Always go a star pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like you were a kid in school, making a star. 1, dun, 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 just like that. You can start anywhere you want. 1, 2, 3, 4. And how I'm going to do the front, you got to get them pretty good and hand tight, and then you drop it down, and then you do your torque. Now the way Froggy does it, this is on the front now, is I'll put one knee up against one side and one hand up against the other side and hold it up on that lip there, and then I'll just take the socket in my hand and run them up like that. There we go. 1. Run them up. 2. 'Come on, baby. 3. 4. 5. There. Now I'll go a little more with my breaker bar, but not extremely tight. This actually, the transmission lock will hold this wheel. There's a little bit of play in that. That's normal. So I didn't really have to leave this down on the ground, but it doesn't hurt to do that. Now let me get the breaker bar on here. Okay, that's done. I'm going to let it down and then finish up, and I'll give you that torque spec. I'm back. Well, I spent about 20 minutes trying to find the Lug Nut Torque Spec in the owner's manual. Good luck with that. It's not on the wheels, it's not on the lug nuts. Jeez. So Lexus gets a big fat F for their owner's manual and not being able to call out that Lug Nut Torque Spec. Make it easy to find. Anyway, the industry standard for the size of the studs and those nuts is 70 to 80 foot-pounds. So I'm going to use, and remember I lubed them a little bit, so I'm going to use 75. I'm going to go with 75. If you'd like to do your own further research on that, then be my guest. And I've got my wrench set up. I'm going to do this star pattern, same as before. I've already snugged them up pretty good, probably to 50 or 60, so and the wheels are down on the ground. Just maybe show you one of them. Yeah, see, that's I was pretty much there. It just moved a little bit. Come on, get on there. Yeah. Yeah, I went a little past the click, so that's probably more like 78. Okay? So that's it. I'm going to do the other one, and then I'm going to do the other side, and I am not going to film all that because it's the same as this side. I hope you enjoyed the video. Froggy just does this for the do-it-yourself guys and gals, and also if you wouldn't even think about doing any of this stuff, but you want to see what the dealer does, then you can watch this video, because the dealer always has a chain up and never lets you in the back of the building where the techs are all working. I don't like that very much, but that's how all the dealers seem to do it these days. So see you later, guys and gals. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.